What is up, guys? Fahir here from AwesomeTuts.com. Let us now make our player jump. Now, before we do that, we are also going to animate him jump. And in order to do that, we need to go here in the animator for the player. So animator, and we need to add one more parameter. So I need to go here and click bool, and I need to name this one jump like this. But we also need to add the jump animation. So select the player. Go inside of the animation tab, click here where it says player walk, but actually we need to make this or put this tab right here. I need to do so because, well, I need to drag and drop that frame. So here, click on this drop down list. We did it already, so click on the drop down list, create new clip, save it in animations, player animations, and I'm gonna call this one player jump, hit enter, and go into the assets, sprites, player, and let me just find here player jump, which is, yeah, this one right here. So for the first player, it's _9. So player _3C_9. Let me just put it right here. And yeah, this is that one frame that's gonna be the player jump animation. So now we have it in the animator panel. Here it is. So we have the player walk, and now we need to make transitions from player idle and player walk to player jump. And we're going to use this jump bool, well, parameter for that. So right click on the player idle, make transition from player idle to player jump, and from player jump back to player idle. Let me select the transition. The condition is going to be when the jump is equal to true, we will go from idle to jump. And of course, we are gonna say here fixed duration is gonna be equal to 0. And for this one right here also, let me just go duration 0 and uncheck fixed duration. And for this parameter, so click on the plus, and we are gonna say here when jump is equal to false. So when jump equals to false, we will go back to player idle. And also here we will go back or go from idle to jump when jump is true. From jump to walk and from walk to jump, simply right click and then make transition like this, as I already did. And we talked about this. So right click on an animation, click on make transition, and then point to the animation where you want that transition, or from that animation to the other animation will be that transition. In this case, from walk to jump, and from jump back to walk. So we're gonna select this transition, and let me just set the exit time to 0 like this, and 0 fixed duration. Let me just select these and set exit time here is 0, exit time here is 0, that's okay. And the condition, click on the plus button right here. We talked about this, so you should already know it. So click on the plus button to add a condition. When the jump is equal to true, we will go from walk to jump. And select this one right here. Transition duration is not going to be fixed. Here is going to be 0. And the condition, click on the plus button, is going to be when the jump is equal to false. So when jump is false, we will go back from player jump to player walk. So let's go in our code. What do we need? Well, we need 2 more, or actually 3 more variables. So we need a variable called private bool is grounded to detect if we are on the ground or not. We also need a private bool jumped, that is, to know if we have jumped or not. And we need a private float. So private float, this is going to be our jump power, which by default, I am going to set it to be equal to 5. Now, you can make this variable to be public. So jump power can be public, so you can change it in the inspector panel if you want to, but I already know that I'm going to use 5 because I have tested this out. So I'm going to leave it as private. Is grounded, we are going to use it like this. I'm going to remove this from the update function. Go right here below our change direction. We also don't need on collision enter and on trigger enter. So here I'm going to create void player jump. This is the function that's going to make the player jump. And for that, we are first going to detect if our player is on the ground. So if he is grounded. Now, this is not like when your mom tells you, go to your room, you're grounded. No, this will detect if he is on the ground. So yeah, if the player is on the ground, and then if our input get key, and we press the key code space, which means we pressed space on our keyboard, we are going to say here jumped is equal to true. And we're also going to say my body dot velocity is equal to new vector 2. For the x, we are going to use my body velocity x. And for the y, we're going to use jump power. So jump power. And we also need to call our anim set bool because we have jumped and the bool is called jump. And we need to set him to be equal to true so that we go, and let me just stop this for some reason. I have, well, clicked on the play button, or actually command plus enter will run the script, but I don't want that. Anyways, when we jump, we want to go either from idle or from our walk animation to the jump animation. We set here the jump parameter, which is a bool type parameter. And you see here, when the jump parameter is true, we will go from walk to jump. When the jump parameter here is false, we will go back from jump to walk or from jump to idle. And here, when we jump, we need to set it to be true in order to play that animation. But in order for this to work, we do need to create another function above it, which I'm going to call void check if grounded. So this is going to check if your mom has told you that you are grounded and you need to go to your room. Just kidding. But anyways, check if grounded. And we're going to do it like this. Is grounded is going to be equal to physics2d dot raycast. So raycast, come on, here it is, raycast. And we are going to raycast from our ground check position, dot position, in vector2 dot down direction. Now vector2 down is a short hand for writing vector2, 0 for the x, -1 for the y. This is just the direction, denoting that the direction is downwards. So -1, that's downwards on the y-axis. Comma, the distance is going to be 0.1. And we are going to add our ground layer. We talked about this in the previous video, so we know what this right here is. So we will cast a ray from this position in this direction. This is the length of that ray, and he will search for collisions with game objects that are on this layer. And here we are going to say if is grounded. So if we are on the ground, but previously we have jumped. If jumped, so we jumped. What we're going to do, we are going to say now jumped is false, and our anim dot set bool jump is now false. This is so that we go back from our jump animation, and that is the reason why we need this jumped variable, because now if we are on the ground and we jumped, so jumped before, then we're going to say now jumped is false and go back from the jump animation either to idle or to walk animation. And if we go here in the update, first I'm going to call check if grounded. Next I'm going to call jump. So player jump like this. And let's test it out and see if it actually works. So if I hit the play button right here, let me just go and preview the game. So notice now what's going to happen. You see, I have jumped, I have jumped, I have jumped, and we are jumping, but we have here, you see what is going on here? So what is the problem? You see, we are in the air, but we are doing all of this. He is like jumping and he is also moving. We don't want that, so on and so forth. How can we fix this? Well, in order to fix this, we need to add extra parameters to these transitions. So we are going to go from player idle to player jump if jump is true, but also the speed needs to be equal to 0. Because when are we in the idle animation? We are transitioning from two animations to another animation. So that can cause issues. And in order to differentiate them, we need to add an extra parameter because we are in the idle animation when the speed equals 0. So here, if speed is equal to 0, that means we are in the idle animation. And we have jumped, then we are going to go from idle to the jump animation. And from the jump, if the jump is now false and the speed is equal to, and the speed is equal to 0, that means we need to go back from jump to idle. Same way here, from walk to jump. if jump is true, but also if speed is greater than 0. So if the speed we're currently moving, which means the speed is greater than 0, then we will jump. And from jump back to walk if our jump is false, but also speed is greater than 0. Now again, if I select the transition from player idle to player walk, you see the condition here is that the speed is greater than 0, which means while the speed parameter is greater than 0, we are in the walk animation. Now imagine this, we are in the walk animation and we press space to jump. That means we need to go from walk to jump, not from idle. But the condition here was if jump is true, we will go from idle to jump, and also here that same condition. So we need to differentiate those two conditions. So now do you understand what I'm talking about? Because we are in the walk animation and we want to go back or go from walk to jump, which means the speed is greater than 0 while we are in the walk animation. And jump is true, then we go from walk to jump. But before we added this speed parameter, we only had jump parameter, which is true. So when it's true, we will go from walk to jump. But we had that same parameter from idle to jump. So when jump is true, we will also go from idle to jump. So they are in conflict. It will not know, doesn't need to go from the idle or from the walk to the jump animation. But now we have differentiated them. So when the speed is greater than 0 and jump is true, go from walk to jump. And when the speed is greater than 0 and jump is false, go back from player jump to player walk. And when the speed is equal to 0, jump is true, go from idle to jump, and same way, go back from jump to player. When speed is equal to 0, jump is false. Let us test that out. So if we go here and we try to move it, yeah, we still have that issue with the player jumping, but he is moving in the air. And that issue is that we need to select this uncheck has exit time. And for this one also, I'm gonna uncheck has exit time. And let me see now. So when we go, yeah. So now when we jump, we don't have those issues anymore. Jump from here, yeah. Just uncheck has exit time from player walk to player jump and from player idle to player jump. Uncheck has exit time because has exit time will wait for the previous animation to finish in order to go to the next animation. But if it does not have that exit time, even though the previous animation did not finish, he will jump straight to the next animation. And notice what we have now. So we have our player jumping. He is really happy. Look at him smiling. Whee, whee. And let me explain what is going on here. So we are using this ray casting. It returns a boolean if it hits a parameter, if it hits a collider, and we explain how that goes. We are casting from this position in this direction. This is the length of that ray, and ray is just a single line, so a line drawn, and it will detect collision between game objects who are on this layer. If it touches a game object that is on this layer, it will return true. So here, if we are on the ground, and we're testing that here, if we are on the ground and we press space, then we have jumped. So we are telling our game that we have jumped, jump is true. We are adding velocity to the rigid body. So jump power on the y-axis in order to jump. And we are animating our player jumping by using jump is equal to true. Now here in check if grounded, we are also checking if we are on the ground, but we jumped before. We need to say jumped is now false because we set it here to be true. And we need to set back our jump parameter to false because now we are on the ground, which means we cannot have our jump animation play while we are on the ground. It makes no sense. And that is what we are doing here. And we have explained all other things with the animation and extra parameters, has exit time, so on and so forth. And voila, we have our player jumping. Fahir here from AwesomeTuts.com. I will see you guys in the next video.